Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link above to my Patreon page. I'm here with Kyle this morning. Hey Kyle.
Hey.
Hey, so we are about to jump into round one, a replay of a league that we played with this sort of bugler folk, blue-white variation of Merfolk. And let's see how the opening hand looked. Well, this is pretty spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very nice
Not
hand.
fast. Not fast.
Not fast, but the deck again is not designed to be fast. So we're absolutely going to keep this. So we're hoping for a junk matchup here, right? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Grind them into the ground here. The opponent kept, we kept. Cliff Top Retreat. That's kind of a weird card to see in Modern.
It is. It's more of a commander.
Could be, you know, if I had to place this deck based on just on this land, I'd probably say like White Red Prison.
Yeah, Sun and Moon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they don't really care so much about turn one tap land. Okay, well, Trickster's another body. We kind of want lands at this point, but we're just going to pass with Flooded Strand. Another Clifftop Retreat. So this deck apparently not really concerned for speed. Hopefully we'll be able to punish this. I mean, now, since we wanted to draw lands, I think we just decided not to crack the Flooded Strand, and we unfortunately did not draw land at this point. I think we're afraid of Blood Moon, right?
Yeah, well, because Sun and Moon in the name.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
You can tell it runs Blood Moon, so I think we just get two basic
islands. Yeah, given that there's no white spells in the hand, I think we can just... We're still wanting lands, so we're going to play out a Silvergill. Just reveal another Silvergill. So, Vial is sort of okay, but we don't have the land to play it out right now, so...
Yeah.
Okay, so this is obviously some kind of fringe deck here. Soulfire Grandmaster is an extremely strong Magic card, but one that people haven't really been able to find a home for yet.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy is, well, stuck on two lands, so we're not too far behind. I think the play here on our turn, even though it might force us to discard, is Silvergill again, looking for land?
Yeah, it was Silvergill or Spreading Seas.
Or I mean, there's another option.
Or Trickster.
Yeah, we just pass and then Trickster and then Harbinger.
What did we do?
I think Seas, because they are stuck on lands, right?
Right.
If we can slow down now, Soulfire Grandmaster, just to look at it again, it gives other spells they have lifelink. So bolts become helixes, and helixes become double helixes. So they're potentially set to gain a lot of life by taking them off of one of their sources. They can't cast Lightning Helix, for example. And there's that land. So that was, I think, a good, a good choice. Play one of our card draw spells. Opponent doesn't want to trade their Soulfire Grandmaster, so we'll go ahead and play the Wanderwine, reveal the creature that we already played, that we already revealed, and play AEther Vial. So opponent drew into a land right on time. All right, so Tormenting Voice, it has lifelink, as you can see, and an additional cost to cast the spell. They have to discard, and we see some more jank over here. Insult and Injury. I think this was in a recent brew by Saffron Olive. I forget what his...
It's very big in Standard right now.
It's very big in Standard?
Yeah, well I mean, I guess it was bigger maybe a month ago when Turbo Fog sort of turned up on the map with like Nexus of Fate. And
so this pushes through that. Damage can't be prevented.
Exactly.
If a source...
So it's been...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just reading the card. If a source would deal damage, it deals double that. So I saw this card in the graveyard. It didn't really set off any alarm bells. Aftermath. Injury deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to target. So potentially, you know, he's just getting some value off of life gain through Soulfire Grandmaster. But this card has Aftermath, you know, so this injury side of it on the right can still be cast from the graveyard. So some value on the discard from Tormenting Voice. But not much else. So the guy got in with Soulfire, potentially not great since we can bounce him with Harbinger. So Bugler, an interesting possibility here, but I think Harbinger is the best play. The opponent's presenting us with value, and it's hard to turn it down, so...
this deck is all about value.
Yep, so let's bounce that guy, get in for some damage, and we're setting up our Vial pretty nicely. Feeling pretty good in this situation. The opponent continues to hit lands. So here's Soulfire Grandmaster again. He's going to cast a lightning bolt with lifelink. Pretty aggressive there with that bolt. And then Flame Slash. So wiping our board, gaining 7 life or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so time to rebuild. Obviously a ton of options here, but the most lucrative seems to be Militia Bugler, right? Or what are we going to do? Are we going to play Trickster and then Harbinger?
Harbinger, I think.
Right? So maybe in response to another removal spell by them, we can Trickster and turn off the lifelink. See what's happening here. This is turn 6. It's been kind of a slow game. So, that's not really unexpected. Boros Reckoner is a pretty strong card in the colors. And it's often used with some crazy combos. There is a board wipe that does 13 damage to each creature, which is kind of a combo with Boros Reckoner. If 13 damage is dealt to Boros Reckoner, then he can throw 13 damage at the opponent's face, which is pretty good. Again, I last time we did this league, I forgot the name of that card. I think I forget it now.
Wait.
So I think
not Pernicious Speed.
No, it's not. It was from Blasphemous Act. It was from Innistrad or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think now we're going to just bring in Silvergill and then maybe Trickster the Reckoner. Yeah. And then we can get that guy off the table. It costs 3 to replay, so hopefully he's slowing the opponent down enough. This life gain is proving to be a little bit annoying. So
I don't think we were really concerned at this point because we have so much gas in hand. So we're like pretty confident we will be able to get them down.
Sure. So we chose to keep AEther Vial on 2 here. We'd still like to hit a 4th land, so let's run out of Silvergill, reveal one of our many lords. There's another land, but unfortunately, it's not one that helps us cast anything here. So, plenty of options here. I mean, Mutavault is another body. We're looking at pretty fast clock at this point for us. We can do some math in a second, but we're swinging now for 4, and we'll probably just vial in Harbinger now, I would think, right? Yeah. Get that Reckoner off the table, and if we look quickly at the amount of damage that we have established here, it's 5 2-power guys. We can get 2 lords down next turn, so they'll all be 4. This is pretty close, right? I mean,
yeah, we are 1 away from lethal, I think.
Yeah. So they played another land here, and I imagine the Reckoner's probably coming back out. Okay, there he is, and not getting with the Soulfire Grandmaster. I guess doesn't want to trade with our Silvergill Adept. So there, another land doesn't help us a ton here, but as you mentioned, I think we're pretty close to lethal, but still shy. They could even just take all the damage at this point. So I think the play here might be just to finally go with a Bugler, because we still have mana up and can cast one of our lords afterwards, or if we draw something else for 2 that we want to cast. So this is sort of the first example for you guys seeing how Bugler works, in action. So we saw, I'm sorry, I clicked through that really fast, but if I show you the revealed cards, I think we saw a Harbinger and a Sygg on that dig when we looked at the top 4 cards. So we took the Sygg. The opponent hasn't really been attacking into our board, so it didn't seem like another Harbinger was going to be super valuable. So at this point, go ahead and play out a Lord and just go to combat. So note that we only have 1 white source, so we can't really vial in Sygg and get a value right now because it's tapped. But if they try to remove our creatures starting next turn, we're going to be able to protect them with Sygg. It's a little bit less effective when we get Sygg off of Militia Bugler because the opponent knows that we have it, so we can't blow them out with AEther Vial. But we do have Island Walk now. If the opponent removed our Lord in response to the attack, we could always just vial in another Lord. We chose not to bring in another Lord right there because, again, it wouldn't be lethal, and they could just have like an Anger of the Gods or something. Okay, so the opponent is casting Insult from hand. It's saying that damage can't be prevented, and if a source you control would deal damage, it deals double that damage instead. So, still not very afraid. The opponent only has 3 lands in hand.
3 cards in hand.
Sorry, 3. They only have 3 lands untapped is what I meant to say. And so what could they possibly do here? and they're targeting their own creature. This was a little bit upside down, like when it happened. We didn't quite know what was going on. But essentially what's going on is the opponent is casting a spell that deals damage, so it's going to deal double that damage. So it's going to deal not 5, but 10 to Boros Reckoner. And then Reckoner, as you know, can deal damage to any target when it is dealt damage. So if it's dealt 10 damage, it's going to deal damage, just like the Roast is dealing damage, but it's going to deal double that. So it's getting doubled on the Reckoner and then doubled coming out of the Reckoner. So I think it's going to deal 20 damage. I think it's going to deal 20 damage to our face. Oh my god!
Yep.
that it was so surprising when that happened. Took us a moment to figure out what was going on. So, but good job, opponent. Merfolk, we couldn't get it done in the 8 turns that were given to us, so we probably deserved to lose that one. But we'll get to sideboard a little bit, and I'll go ahead and go to game 2 and show you guys how our sideboard looked. All right, back for game 2. I'm going to open up the sideboard here. So, looks like we trimmed a couple of buglers because I think part of the reason was they could be running something like Blood Moon, and we wanted to go a little bit lighter on white. But in any event, what did we bring in, Kyle? It looks like we took out a couple of Spreading Seas, a couple of Harbingers. We would have brought in 2 Echoing Truths.
Yeah, so I think it was 4 Deprives.
4 Deprives, of course, because if they go for some crazy damage spell, we want to be able to counter it. So we brought in 4 Deprives and 2 Echoing Truths, and maybe that was it.
That was all, yeah. I think our thinking was also in regard to taking out Militia Bugler that this is a fair matchup. It's a combo matchup, and so Bugler excels in matchups that are grindy and resource oriented, and this is a compliment.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, as far as the point about Blood Moon, if we were worried about that, we might even go so far as to trim Syggs, which require us to hold up white mana all the time. But yeah, in this case, you're right. It's not a matchup where Militia Bugler is sort of optimal. All right, so let's see the opening hand for game 2. This looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep. We've got that early game Sygg, which is not really super optimal, but opponent's mulling to 5 here, so hopefully this will be an easier game 2. Just throw out Wanderwine and not reveal anything. We have nothing to play. We don't really need to represent anything. I think the idea of sort of bluffing Spell Pierce on turn 1 is a little bit silly because nobody expects, like an opponent is not going to hold their Serum Vision in hand because they're afraid we're going to counter it, Like, so don't do that. Don't bluff with Wanderwine Hub. Like, you might have Vapor Snag, but the person's still going to play their Noble Hierarch, Okay, so no turn 1 play from the opponent. I'm going to go ahead and just see if I can check their scry. It looks like they went on top, so not the worst. We drew a 3rd land, which is wonderful. So, we were really slow last game, so we decided to run out a Silvergill. I think we just revealed another Silvergill here. Another option with them on a mulligan would have been to go with Spreading Seas to hopefully keep them off of really any development. But our plan is to deal damage, so let's go ahead and get a creature down on the board. And there's another creature, so. Looks like they're short on white mana. Now, this 4th land is great to see because we've got so much action in hand, and we're going to be drawing more cards. We really want to be able to play 2 spells on turn 4, and now we'll be able to do that. What do you think the play is this turn, Kyle? We could probably go to attacks first, right?
Yeah, I think that we go with one of our cantripping creatures.
Okay, so what? No,
we wanted to push damage.
To push damage, and I think this makes sense. Yeah, if they have a bolt or something, sometimes you can wait until the 2nd main phase to play out the Lord in case you can sort of suss out a removal spell on your Silvergill. But I think we just wanted to sort of do the opposite of what we did the first game, which is to say, we are the beatdown in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And actually sort of, honor that and do our best to push as much damage as possible. So we played the Hallowed Fountain there just to save some life. As you saw in the last game, they can sort of explode out of nowhere. Of course, Anger of the Gods would be painful right now, but it's just a Boros Reckoner. So play out that Mutavault. So the Echoing Truth is pretty good because if they go for some crazy combo, we can just bounce the Reckoner, and that just kind of fizzles the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of options here. But Sygg leaving up protection is maybe the most interesting. I remember we thought through this a bit about how attacks might work, and I think we decided attacking with Silvergill is good because if he blocks with Reckoner, we're happy to do that trade. And then Reckoner gets to redirect damage, and if he redirects it to one of these guys, we can just protect them.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about it for a bit.
So we can attack with Silvergill because, again, we're not going to activate and protect if he blocks. We're just going to let the trade happen. Because if we did that and tried to protect the Silvergill, then our other more valuable creatures would be vulnerable to Reckoner's redirect. All right, so it just takes the damage, and our board feels really good right now. We have a Sygg activation up. Opponent continues to be sort of starved for white mana, and they just pass through. So it seems like a good opportunity to set them back a lot by echoing truthing the Boros Reckoner. We're going to be able to attack for quite a bit this turn. And with Sygg protection up, we should hopefully just be able to lean and close this out in a couple turns. Mm-hmm. So now we have double activation up, actually. So go ahead and swing for 8. Opponent probably realizes they can't really do anything against the protection ability. So they just take all the damage and scoop. So pretty easy game. They mulled to 5. We'll go ahead to game 3 and see how this match concluded. All right, back for game 3 against Boros Reckoner combo. As you saw, our sideboard is basically 4 Deprives and 2 Echoing Truths in. This looks pretty good, right?
Great hand.
Yeah, we've been getting good hands. We'll have AEther Vial here. Trickster can turn off a Boros Reckoner, so it's sort of like an anti-combo card. Unfortunately, the opponent is mulliganing again, but at least they kept on 6 this time. And they went to the bottom, so... excuse me, basic mountain again. And another Vial, so that'll, we can play that out on turn 3. I think we probably, let's see, what do we reveal? Just a Sygg. I think we don't want to give away the Trickster if we can avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Although, again, Sygg becomes slightly less valuable if the opponent knows about it, since we can Vial them in. Okay, looks like the opponent doesn't run enough white sources.
Yeah.
All right, so this is interesting. We can definitely just reveal Sygg again here. And with access to Deprive and Trickster... No reason not just to pass to the opponent.
Yeah, if we get to counter a Reckoner, that's good value.
And we could, I think if they play a Reckoner, what might be actually the better play is just to Trickster it and then bounce it and then counter it the next time.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So here's a Reckoner. did we counter it?
I don't remember.
It looks like we did, but I kind of like that other line that I was just describing.
Yeah, in retrospect, I think that other line could have been good.
Yeah, because Vial would be on 2, so if we let it resolve, bring Trickster in, bring Harbinger in on our turn with Vial on 2, then we still have mana up on our turn to counter it again, and we have 4 power on the board, so essentially a slight misstep, but it's one of the big advantages of going through these videos. Making these videos with replay is everybody gets to learn from our observations the second time through. All right, so we're just passing again. Everything works at instant speed. We've now got Sygg up with AEther Vial, and that's the best play. We've got activations up with our mana. We'll leave AEther Vial on 2. I think we can just... oh, you know what? I think this was the turn. I might have forgotten to play out the second AEther Vial here.
Oh, yeah, I think that did happen.
So opponent's going for Lightning Bolt. Of course, we want to protect. And if he has another removal spell, he can put it on top of this activation. Interesting. So this was a Lightning Axe discarding another Lightning Axe, if I'm seeing this correctly.
That is correct.
So not only having to spend 2 removal spells here, but they actually had to spend 3 since Lightning Axe forces a discard. All to deal with just our 2/2 by itself. So I think the opponent realizes that this guy's really important, not necessarily by himself, but once we get more creatures on the board, and he kind of understands that that's what Merfolk does. So let's go ahead and get rid of him now. And as you saw earlier, Militia Bugler, generating value. In this case, Sygg is generating value by getting cards out of the opponent's hand. So unfortunately, I passed through there without playing the second AEther Vial, but I think it was okay.
Yeah, not a super
Looks
important
like
thing.
So opponent plays a land and nothing else, so we'll go ahead and bring in one of these Tricksters. We just need to start getting creatures on the board. It's turn 5 and we haven't dealt any damage yet. You can see that this is a slower build of Merfolk for sure. Well, Master of Waves is a very nice draw. We'll go straight to combat with Trickster, see if the opponent's interested in removing him. Is not, so I think it's time to just slam the Master. We could totally we could totally vial in more devotion, but I think just these 3 elementals combined with Mutavault should be enough to close out the game without overextending. Okay, look, opponent started tapping mana and didn't do anything. So that first game was a big surprise, getting 20 damage dealt to our face out of nowhere. But then games 2 and 3 were very comfortable. Opponent mulled to 5 and 6, but as you saw, they had cards to work with. We countered a Reckoner, and Sygg made quick work of 3 removal spells. So deck kind of did what it was designed to do here. And we won. So 1-0 in this modern friendly league. Thanks for joining us, guys. Please let me know your thoughts on the deck and how how the cards play. I know it's a little hard to comment on this particular matchup since it's not a very common one, but still always interested to know your thoughts and observations. Any closing thoughts, Kyle?
I don't think so. I mean, the deck worked as advertised.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, let's go ahead to the second round and see how that went. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Check out my Patreon page, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.